It's great. We're now streaming actually. Uh, this is the first time ever that I stream on YouTube. I guess there's not going to be too many people. I'm sorry. I guess there's not going to be too many people seeing me here, but watching me here. But I'm sorry, the lip is too exaggerating. There might be not there might not be too many people watching me here on YouTube, but uh, actually here for recording mostly because, as I mentioned, there will not be so many people watching me. But I'm going to record one topic that I wrote the script before, and the topic is the failure of democracy. So I'm actually going to talk about this topic, and after in the streaming, I will clip it. I will edit it into a video so that you can see very so you can get the what I'm trying to talk about very swiftly. But if you see me streaming, it will be less effective, but you will see me um, organizing my sentences. You will see me how I get my thoughts straight. It is also worthwhile. That means so. Let's get started. Um, my script uh, begins with a statement that we live in an era when democracy fails. So this actually means look at America. There are radical movements that arises, and instead of getting more united, the USA has become more divided. When Hitler failed in the election, and she claimed that the America has become the divided states of America, not the United States, but the divided states. So all these reminds us that democracy is failing. But looking back, but if we look back at 1980s when the Berlin Wall fell, there was a spectacular outburst of optimism for democracy. But now the outcome seemed to have proved that um, the optimism has been misplaced, or the optimism was failing us, because nowadays what is going on is quite different from 1980s. And I recently that pushed me to read um, the famous book by Fukuyama. Let me present it to you. So so the so what I talked about in the above pushed me to read this book. This book is called "The End of History and the Last Man" by Fukuyama. This is a famous book. This is a famous book written in 1980s by Fukuyama. This is the optimism for democracy that I mentioned. Um, so, The End of History and the Last Man by Fukuyama was one of the most influential voice at the collapse of Soviet Union. To him, democracy marks the end of history, and democratic people are the last man. That is the main point in this book. Despite the fine insights by Fukuyama, there is a major fallacy in Fukuyama's theory. That is his idealized view of the maturity of the crowd, which is clearly manifested in the two of his statements. The two statements were in his book, and I will put it later in the video. But now I will read it to you. Um, Fukuyama talked about the political maturity of the Russian people. Uh, the political maturity of the Russian people was nowhere more evident than in their election Boris Yeltsin as their first popularly elected president. So he talked about the political maturity. This is an important point. Uh, and later he mentioned the maturity again. Uh, the Russian people proved instead to be adults who could tell truth from falsehood, right from wrong, and who sought, like other adults in the old age of mankind, recognition of their adulthood and autonomy. So this is there is a logical fallacy in here. Um, Fukuyama places emphasis on the maturity of the Russian people, but the people are not mature. People are actually instead irreasonable. They're driven by desire because the crowd is easy to be fooled. They're not adults, like Fukuyama has said. In the 1990s, the Soviet people they chose democracy not because it really fits Russia. It does not really fit Russia. Democracy does not fit in Russia, but they they didn't choose it. They didn't think of that. They chose democracy because back at that time, back in 1990s, they loved they loved Western commodities such as fancy clothes, jeans, and the popular music from the Western country. They loved those things, and they cannot foresee, and they're not even bothered to see the disaster caused by privatization. Later, we can see the whole country is monopolized by the officials. And in addition, the crowd is very childish. They're easily to be fooled. They would buy every stupid idea from the media. Uh, and this is especially the case uh, when they're exposed to the noxious power of TikTok nowadays. So nowadays, people are still being fooled by TikTok. So the media has deprived the crowd of the ability to think, and the Russian people was once also deprived of the ability to think. They're fooled by the media. The media says democracy is good, and they opted for democracy. So that's how things happened. That is that is how things happened back in 1990s. So the people they do not act very rationally like adults, as Fukuyama has anticipated. The crowd are instead very easily agitated. They're like children. So democracy clearly is better than autocracy, but there's one default in democracy, that is democracy over empowers the people, especially the groups who are just incompetent and not deserve empowering. Uh, there are foolish people. There are indeed some foolish people. There are dull people who have a love of comfort and they fear changes. So with the power they gain from democracy, they would attack the elites who does not fear change, the elites who has not the love of comfort. They would attack the elites. They would attack the people with good quality, and they hinders the social reformation. Uh, for example, they would attend assemblies. Assemblies are not usually good things. The assemblies are not always good things. Um, the assembly are usually agitated people. They just do not want to. They just uh, do not like the social reformation uh, um, that put their that risks their interests, that risks that jeopardizes, um, that pushes them out of their comfort zone. Uh, this is what this is what Hannah Arendt terms now as this is what Hannah Arendt terms as the banality of evil. Uh, uh, yes, this is a main idea that I'm trying to convey. So I'm actually going to explain it to you again. About I'm going to go through what I'm trying to say again because this is the first time we ever recorded a video, and I'm not sure if I have presented my speech too quickly. So I will go through it very quickly again. So let's begin with this thing. Let's begin with this statement. We live in an era when democracy fails. Looking at the America, we see uh, the radical movements, radical left or radical movement that arises. Um, and when Hillary failed in her election, she said instead of integration, the United States had become more divided. So but when we look back at the history, in 1980s, when the Berlin Wall fell, there was a spectacular outburst of optimism and hope. But now the outcome proved to be so different from what we expected in 1980s. So this pushed me to read a book to find out what went wrong. And uh, this book is The End of History and the Last Man by Fukuyama. This book was one of the most influential voice at the collapse of Soviet Union in 1980s. To Fukuyama, democracy marks the end of history, and the democratic people are the last man. Uh, Despite the fine insights by Fukuyama, there's a major fallacy. That is, the Fukuyama's idealized view of the maturity of the people, which is clearly manifested in two of his statements in here. I will put it on screen. So there are two sentences. The political maturity of the Russian people, in particular, nowhere more evident than their election of Ellison as the maturity. So there's a political maturity of the Russian people, and here in the second sentence, the Russian people proved to be adults who can tell truth from a falsehood. So these two sentences emphasizes the maturity and the adulthood, and the adulthood quality of the Russian people, but people are not adults, and they're by no means mature. Instead, people, as I see it, are very childish. They're easy to be fooled. So back in 1990s, the Soviet people chose democracy not because every every Soviet person they know democracy works well, and democracy does not work very well. Um, so they chose democracy not because it really fits Russia, but because most of the Soviet people, especially the young people, they love Western commodities such as the fancy clothes, the jeans, etc., and they love the pop music from the West. They cannot foresee, however, uh, the disaster caused by privatization uh, of the state companies of the Soviet Union, and moreover, they're actually back in 1990s. I think the Soviet people they're fooled by the media because the media says democracy really fits Russia, and they just really bought it. They're easily to be fooled. Um, Nowadays, the people are continued are people continues to be fooled, especially when they're exposed to the noxious power of TikTok. So the media, no matter um, whether be it in the past or uh, in nowadays, the media has always been depriving the crowd of the ability to think, and therefore, instead of acting very rationally, like the adults that Fukuyama had mentioned, the crowd are easily agitated, and they're like children. So um, clearly, democracy is better than autocracy, but democracy has some failures. It over empowers the people. Democracy over empowers the people, especially the groups who are just incompetent and they do not deserve the empowering. Um, there are some people who are easily to be fooled and they have love of comfort. They do not dare to jump out that comfort zone. They fear changes. And with the power they gained from democracy, they would actually attack the elites, the elites who really do good to the society by attending uh, the protests or assemblies. Um, they form assemblies to attack the elites and hinders the real changes in the society, the change for good. Uh, so, like Hannah Arendt have said, they have the banality of evil. So democracy actually um, fuels the banality of evil in the crowd. Um, so what I'm trying to say as a Chinese, we have wisdom. We have very great Chinese philosophers who have foreseen the banality of the evil and the problem of democracy. That philosopher is Confucius. Confucius has famously put it that we can let the ruler or the government can only make the people follow, but they cannot let them know. But they should not let the crowd know. Um, they should not let the crowd know everything. So, in other words, the attention of most people, the attention of the crowd should be directed away from politics. This is also why Plato has said that Plato had classified the people of the country into uh, three straight three stratas. That is, the on the top there's a philosopher who makes policies, and at the bottom there are people from the economic level. Uh, so most people they really fit in the economic level, but they do not fit in the top level. So this is why Plato had made such a classification. Uh, and Confucius sees that. So Confucius said that we can only make the people follow, but we cannot let them know everything, especially know about the politics. And they should not get involved in the politics either. So this is what I'm trying to talk about: the failure of democracy. Uh, this is how it feels in my mind. And if you have any critiques or thoughts, you can share with me, because my this is just from my own perspective, perspective of Chinese, uh, and this is all my sharing. Uh, I hope you like it. I hope you really like it. Thank you.